The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Let's go! What time is it? Game time! Game time! It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
9. Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, and it's still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
Alabama back on top of the college football world. Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hello and welcome to another Football to the Max podcast. This is the final week of the NFL season. We'll be recapping the games that mattered from there. We will also be talking about the last round of college football bowl games, including that barn burner of a Rose Bowl game. My God, what an amazing game that was. We'll also talk about the boring college football games, pretty much, that college football playoff games that we got. So those are in there as well. There's also some NFL coaches that were fired, and one that retired that we will talk about. Gary is here with me. Randy, I guess, fell asleep again, waiting on us. We did once again try to wait on him and see if he woke up or anything, but this is one of that time of year where things get. Sometimes you're kind of still coming off that New Year's, the holiday thing, and work hasn't wind down yet, and still having to put that pedal to the metal,
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us, we already got our schedule going down already this week, so I don't have to worry about getting some sleep because I have to work in the morning or whatever, but still feel the pain of having to be up this late anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And the holidays are always crazy, and we're finally past it, but still, man, you got the hangover of the holidays, and it's kind of tough to get back in your groove. And I was kind of enjoying having an extra day off and all that stuff. So now not getting that, it's kind of a bummer, but here we are. I mean, I'll say this. I mean, we're winding down this college football season. We're getting closer to the end of this NFL season, and it's good. It should be getting to the good points, and I'm excited about that. I think there's a lot of good stuff for us to look forward to. So yeah, work is tough, and everyday life is tough, but at least there's some entertainment at the end of the rainbow.
Certainly there is that. And we did it. Let's go ahead and just kind of talk about the entertaining game that was from Monday night. My God. Penn State and USC going at it. So they scored more points in that game than the Los Angeles Rams scored in Los Angeles all year. That's
That's amazing, and it speaks volumes of what the Rams have done.
How bad the Rams are, but yeah.
But at the end of the day, really, and I think a lot of people, if they were just not watching this game and they saw a sports ticker, they thought, oh, man, Penn State's doing pretty well in basketball for a little while here, and oh look, this is not a basketball score, this is a football score, and you're right, Sean. This was a great Rose Bowl. This is definitely one of those games where people can actually, be happy that they watched it. I think, Penn State really kind of let us down here. I think a lot of people really had Penn State going on. I know some people didn't, but I really felt like Penn State was going to win this game because they really honestly probably should have been in the Final Four. But they just missed out. And, at the end of the game here, they had about 14 points up on USC. And before you knew it, USC bounced back, came back, and if it wasn't for a big interception, too, Penn State may have won this game. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this and a lot of scoring. But at the end of the day, Penn State really missed out on an opportunity, and good for USC. I mean, really, I think that they kind of took advantage of everything that Penn State gave them.
Yeah, certainly. USC had players go down in this game, and they still kept trucking through. There was a ridiculous call that was not reversed. Or was it reversed? How did that go? Was it that they didn't reverse it and it should have been, or was it reversed and it should have not been?
That was a point where I think I'd missed that part because I was flipping between this and Monday Night, Raw and all that. But I think it was missed. And, these plays, that come down to controversial situations are always tough, I think at the end of the day, though, this game was still so close. And, whether it gone the one way or the other, I think it still would have been a close game.
But if it's something where, it's pretty clear and you're choosing not to go with that,
mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty shitty. Let's be honest. Okay?
Yeah.
And then for the announcer, for Brent Musburger to try to, cover the refs, and then, like, you have a ref there, you have a former ref that's in the, that's supposed to be kind of calling the refs out when they don't make a great call, and you're not going to say anything. That's wrong, too. I don't care how PC you want to be about it. That's what your job is to call people out on when they make a bad call. And, whatever. I get it, it's not a professional game, but still, doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter at all. So I just wanted to point that out. You have Florida whoop Iowa. I was totally wrong on that one. You had Oklahoma wind up beating Auburn pretty bad in the Sugar Bowl as well. Was it Wisconsin? Western Michigan did a heck of a job to come back on Wisconsin, but Wisconsin was a bit too much.
Yeah, they were able to run the clock out at the end. Western Michigan really never got a chance to get the ball back, but I mean, it became a lot closer than I expected. I really thought Wisconsin was going to run away with that game, but they, and Western Michigan, who once again has stuck around all year with the teams they played.
Yeah, credit to them for making it a game and showing that, hey, the group of five deserve their spot that they got here. So, the thing for me is the college football playoff games, man. How boring were they?
Boy.
Clemson absolutely 31-0 on Ohio State. My God. And then, Alabama taking it to Washington as well. That was a bit closer, but still.
Yeah, and this is what aggravates me because, I had a game on the same time on Monday night that was just amazing, and Penn State and USC going at it. And, me and Sean, if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you're just listening to our football podcast, we do a wrestling podcast as well. So we have two jobs usually on Monday nights: watch Monday Night Football, watch wrestling. And it gets to be much at times because you're trying to watch both. And you miss some things. You miss some things in the wrestling part. Sometimes you miss things in the football part. So I missed that controversial call in the Penn State. I apologize. I just happened to miss that. But at the end of the day, I really wish I would have had one of these national games, these Final Four playoff games. I wish they'd have been on Monday night so I could have missed some of that. So I could have watched more wrestling and just kind of ignored. I wish the Rose Bowl was on Sunday night or Saturday night, whatever it could have been. Yeah, because these games were, God, just it's miserable, especially the Clemson game. And I'll see all props to Sean on this. He called it.
Look, tremendous defensive performance by Clemson. Okay, they were in JT Barrett's face constantly. The dude Farrell, my God, he would not leave JT Barrett alone. And then Deshaun Watson, Wayne Gallman, the rest of the guys on offense, they were able to kind of tear Ohio State apart eventually. They got the turnovers, everything else. I mean, it was a complete domination.
It was.
There's no. I don't want to cut that short. It's a complete domination. It's just it wasn't the prettiest thing to watch either.
No, it wasn't. And I was just going to give you some credit though, because you called this, and I really didn't think it was going to happen. I really felt like it's arrogant to say this, but I really felt like Ohio's coaching staff was just going to be better than Clemson's, and I thought they were going to motivate their players, and I thought Ohio State was going to find a way. Now, I thought it was going to be a close game. Don't get me wrong, but I really felt like Ohio was going to find a way, even if it was by a point. They were going to win this game. And you gave Clemson the credit of, hey, their defense is good. You can't sleep on them. And I slept on them. I really did. I kind of thought, well, I don't know. And that was my bad. And so Clemson deserved everything that they got out of this game, and that was complete domination. Ohio State, man, they got to go back to that drawing board because that was a beating.
Yeah, a total drubbing. Now, I'm kind of proud that Washington was able to... The thing that sucks is that the one thing you thought you could count on for Washington, their offense, didn't show up. They were just beat down by the Alabama defense. The Washington defense is what kept Washington in the game for as long as they did until I think the fourth quarter, where Alabama finally got that 80-yard touchdown from Scarborough to blew it open, because it was 17-7 for quite a while. But man, just kind of sad to see Washington's offense, a team that put up so many points during the season, just absolutely come to a screeching halt in a game that mattered the most.
And Jake Browning has played tremendous this year. Really moved the Huskies along, but that Alabama defense just made him look so mediocre. They really did. And it's not that, we had, Jalen Hurts on the other side of the ball look amazing. Not really. I mean, he, 57 yards passing? I mean, come on. Just nothing there. But, what mattered is that, Alabama's defense just played so well, just stifled everything that had, come out of, the backfield or the passing game for Washington. I just felt so bad for Washington because they're so used to, being dominating themselves, and they just had no answers. And the one thing is we had, like you said, Sean, Scarborough was the answer for Alabama. The running game worked when the passing game didn't, and that was what sealed this deal, really. They kept the clock going. Alabama's defense just continued to just stress out Washington. And, at the end of the day, I mean, I kind of felt this was going to happen. And we talked about this when we predicted this whole game, and we talked about the fact that it was going to be probably close. It probably wouldn't be a beating unless Alabama jumped up quick. And this wasn't a completely drubbing, but it did become a situation where Washington just could not find a way out of this. I mean, let's see this. In the first quarter, they were tied. But then after that, Alabama started to run away with it with 10 points in the second quarter, blanking, Washington from doing anything. And then Washington just can't play catch-up. They just can't do it. And so Alabama just wins this game by defense.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that. Alabama's defense was, obviously best in the country. And they're going to run into that, Washington would, and not know what to do about it. And that's exactly what happened. Now, an interesting thing happened today. Lane Kiffin not going to coach in the final. And he basically is dismissed to go ahead and go to Florida Atlantic and start recruiting. And Steve Sarkisian, the former USC coach that, of course, had the alcohol problems and all that last season, and has been having them for a while, obviously, he's going to be the offensive coordinator now. I mean, talk about pressure. You're coming off a drug rehab, and all of a sudden you're having to coach the biggest game of your life. Man.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And, wow. It's, it's a kind of a
I hope he can stay through the, stay true to himself through all this, because that's a heavy load to think about, really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, on a moment's notice, it's all in your lap. And that's a lot to take in. So, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel? I mean, I always have my concerns because,
I think it's so weird, though. Like,
I
mean, Lane Kiffin's been fired so so many different ways. He's, decided to quit when he got fired on the tarmac of a plane. I think he, quit. He quit the Falcons in such a weird way, too. Lane Kiffin's just a weird dude.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a mutual thing too. Wouldn't be surprised about that at all. It's just really weird. Why would you have him coach the semifinal game then? Why not have Sarkisian come in the semifinal game to get him get him a game under his belt before he coaches the freaking playoff final?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a very smart, choice here, but I mean, there's really honestly nothing the program really has to do. They can't really do much about that. So at the end of the day, I mean, they're gonna have to swallow it and just go with it. And if they can overcome, you got to give them even that much more credit.
Yeah, I mean, this is Nick Saban we're talking about. He knows what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, he definitely does. It's just, it's such a big distraction. And maybe Alabama doesn't get shooken by this, but it's just the fact of, why let this happen?
You don't need to give a Dabo Sweeney, coach of the Clemson, and that team any reason to have some kind of psychological advantage on you because they're already driven from last year of going in there and getting beat by Alabama. They don't want to go through it again. So any kind of advantage that they perceive they might have, and they get that on you because of something dumb like this, that can be the difference right there. So just point that out.
Yeah, you're very right. And, I think like you, though, I don't have too many concerns when it comes to, Nick Saban getting his team ready. I just think the distractions, that's just a sad thing. But at the end of the day, I think that doesn't affect the quality of this game. I think we're still going to get an amazing game, and we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully it is the quality of last year. Hopefully. But we'll see when that comes on Monday night. Of course, on the Thursday show, we'll be previewing the NFL playoffs and, of course, that college football playoff game as well. Might as well go ahead and move it along to the NFL side of things here. And talk about Week 17. Look, Week 17, a lot of these games didn't matter. So there's really not a point of talking about teams that are not in the playoffs at this point. You don't care, we don't care, and if that's your team, I'm sorry. But we're not going to be talking about those teams for at least until the Super Bowl's over. Then when we get into the offseason, we'll talk about those teams again. But we're going to focus on who made the playoffs, and that's what's going to happen here. I will run these things down. The Bengals beat the Ravens 27-10, pretty bad. The Jacksonville Jaguars were up on the Colts for a large margin of this game. And then the Colts came all the way back, finished season 8-8, win 24-20. The Patriots absolutely blasted the Dolphins, 35-14. It was never a game. It was a game for a little while. It was a game for a bit when it was like, I think, was it like 21-14 at one point? The only 14 points that Miami scores. But after that, New England just kind of runs away with it. Minnesota absolutely whooped the Bears 38-10. The Jets whooped the Buffalo, who were with the interim coach 30-10. The Cowboys. What do you think about this, Gary? Dallas. Romo comes in the second quarter, not the fourth quarter. Leads them on a touchdown drive. It's the only touchdown they get in the game. And then Mark Sanchez comes in and he plays like Mark Sanchez. And the Cowboys proceed to not even be a threat the rest of the game while Mark Sanchez is playing. So I think, and Dak looked good too as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys did what they thought was best to see what Romo could do, and they found out what he could do and quickly yanked him out of the game, and for good reason. I mean, their offensive line on the left side was bare. I mean, they didn't have their two starters on the left side. The blind side kind of terrified them. I think they saw that these guys were doing a decent enough job to protect Dak, so they should be able to help Romo out. They did. He got out of there with a touchdown unscathed. They said, good. Well, now let's move on and let's just, close this game out. So they did, and, good for them. I think that they found out what they wanted to find out from the different guys that they played, So, I mean, all the credit to the Eagles. I mean, they played to the end, but, I mean, the Cowboys just kind of played some backups and got the game done.
Yeah, certainly. It was pretty cool as a Cowboys fan. I mean, as a person that's just a Romo fan. And I think that's what, let's be honest here, that's what a lot of these Cowboy Romo, like the people that really want Romo, I don't think it's totally so much like they hate Dak. I think it's we just want to see Tony Romo.
Well, you got to put the shoes on from a Cowboys fan perspective. For most people, they don't understand it. Why are you a Romo fan? You can't win playoff game. Tony Romo has done a lot for the organization when they didn't have any other players. It's kind of like people, in Green Bay and around the country that, love Aaron Rodgers. What if, people were saying, oh, I hate Aaron Rodgers. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of the same way. And I know Romo hasn't had the success as Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying there's some people that you just like, and I think the Cowboys fans just want this guy to win something, and they know after this year he's going to be in another uniform, and they want him to win.
Yeah, and perhaps not get that chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
So we moving on here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, without their three main guys, still find a way to beat the Browns in overtime because the Browns can't go in and get a touchdown when they're right there close to I think they're like on the 5 or whatever. RG3 throws a screen. They cause the guy to go backwards. They actually get a field goal. Then the Steelers go march down the field in overtime and they get a touchdown. I mean, it's a game the Browns should have won. The Browns lucked out because they now get the number 1 pick. But, man, just the Browns being the Browns again.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's going to be kind of funny because, I mean, it was going to kind of repeat of last year. Number 1 pick for the Cleveland. Are they going to trade this one away? I don't know. They got some great options.
Unless you're really going to draft a quarterback, and I just don't even know who's out there at this point. I've heard nothing about the quarterback so far for this draft class.
Yeah, not much.
This is going to be interesting as we get into that offseason or whatever. Tampa Bay came all the way back to win after being down. They win by a point, 17-16. So Tampa Bay goes out on a nice win to end their season, even though they were hoping to make the playoffs, but it was such a long shot. At that point, Cam Newton after the game says, me and football are just not in the right place right now. I mean, damn, that...
Not in the right place. I mean, Is he in Indiana and football's in Michigan? I mean, what's going on here?
That's what he seems like he's saying. Just like he's not all there or whatever. Like that Super Bowl loss still got him shook up or something.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me wonder, and this is when I really wish Randy was available because, this is kind of Randy's guy. Randy's really, said some great things about Cam Newton, really loved the whole showboating thing that Cam did, really just was behind that, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it, to be honest with you, but at the same point, is a guy like Cam Newton, does it hurt him to use those things as much as he does? Because it seems like he gets excited. He kind of plays that part of, showboater, loves to showcase, he's a star. But when he's not the star, do you think mentally it affects him? Do you think he kind of thinks to himself, what am I doing? This is not...
Yeah, it's got to mentally affect him. This is a mental thing. This is not... Cam Newton is obviously physically gifted. This is not a physical thing. This is a total mental thing. When you say, me and this game are not in the right place, I mean, that is totally mental. That is totally in your head and whatever. It's just so amazing to me. A guy that is so great, and this stuff's getting to him,
Well, if he can admit here's my thing. If he can admit this, then it's up to him to get back in there and focus and do what he needs to do. And if that means he needs to throw touchdowns and walk away and be just, Mr. Straight-laced football player and to be successful, that's what he needs to do. I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just saying he needs to really figure out what's messing up his focus. And sometimes I wonder if he's worried about, being successful when it comes to after the play compared to making the play happen.
Yeah, certainly. Tennessee came back to win against Houston as Tom Savage suffered a concussion. He is out, and he has to go into protocol before they can play the game this weekend. And then, Randy's favorite guy, the great mighty Pooh, Brock Osweiler, had to go back in, and they lose. So
shocker.
I mean, it's not a game that mattered at all to Houston, but still.
No, but it really makes you worry if you're a Houston Texans fan that the great mighty Pooh may actually be your starting quarterback. I still feel like Houston could have some success because they're also facing a team with quarterback issues, but at the same time, I mean,
yeah, the Raiders are worse. They don't know if they're gonna have Matt McCoy or they're gonna be starting freaking Connor Cook.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just, you can see the Houston defense licking their chops already. They want that. But that's what's going to win them the game. I mean, I just have a hard time believing that Brock Osweiler is going to beat Oakland. I think it's going to be the Houston defense if Savage can't get back on the field.
Yeah, Atlanta was able to hold off New Orleans to be able to secure that number 2 seed. I mean, Atlanta had this game in hand for a while, but New Orleans just came back, of course. Very much Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and all that. They never give up. And, Atlanta doing what they do. They don't play defense, but they'll certainly try to outscore you. Denver whooped Oakland with a Connor Cook at quarterback after Matt McCoy went down. That's no surprise, honestly. Arizona absolutely just demolished the Los Angeles Rams, 44-6. Just the Rams have been pitiful this year, just absolutely horrid.
The Rams put their hands up and gave up, I guess.
Yeah, basically. Kansas City is able to outlast San Diego to secure their number 2 spot after the Patriots won. So it'll be the Chiefs and Patriots getting first-round byes in the AFC. It's going to be that. As they already mentioned, it's going to be a game of attrition for the Houston Texans and Oakland Raiders playing each other. And then it'll be the rematch between the Miami Dolphins and Pittsburgh Steelers that we saw earlier this year when Roethlisberger was first coming off that injury.
Yeah, and it's it's hard with that game. We'll predict it, coming up this week. But, just as it sits, though, you're looking at Matt Moore as, Miami's quarterback, and you're thinking to yourself, how far can they go with him?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, that Miami defense is going to have to play really well to take out Le'Veon Bell and those Pittsburgh Steelers receivers, Antonio Brown and all that. That's a tall order. And, the Pittsburgh defense has been improving. So that's it. Possibly Ryan Tannehill even plays in this game. We'll have to see. We don't even know yet. Apparently, Adam Gase said he's not ruling out Ryan Tannehill yet. Probably a bunch of mind games, but you know how that works.
Yeah. Well, it's tricky. It's kind of like what you had in San Diego. I think the city of San Diego is ruling out the Chargers. So, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Like you said.
I had to throw that joke in there because we didn't mention that was probably San Diego's last game, probably. If I don't know if ever, but that may be the Chargers' last game, at least in that city.
It's kind of sad to go out in the loss. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers gave the Seahawks one heck of a game here. And at one point, the Seahawks were up, I think it's 14-0. I think Russell Wilson got hurt at one point. He came back into the game. He wasn't playing himself. The Seahawks were able to will the thing to win and secure that third spot and avoid going in the wild card round. Oh, well, they do go in the wild card round, but they'll have the they would have been fourth instead of third.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, they'd have been playing Green Bay this weekend.
Right, exactly. Instead of possibly playing Green Bay next weekend, which that bodes much better for them. Now they'll play the Lions instead. So, which is a much better matchup for the Seahawks. I'm sure they're happy about that. And the reason why the Lions, even though they lost on Sunday Night Football, and that was one heck of a game, the Washington Redskins couldn't get through that Giants defense. Kirk Cousins throws an interception when they're driving on the final drive, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Do you think that affects how much Kirk Cousins gets paid now, knowing that you were the reason why your season ended?
It's a great question because of the fact, his whole campaign this year was about, making sure he proved that he earned all the money that they're, supposedly going to have to pay him. I think it affects to an extent. I really do, because I think the Washington Redskins can kind of point and say, look, man, I mean, we wanted to see you prove that you could get our team to that next level, and you still have yet to do that in the time you've been here. And so I could see where they'd say, we still need some leeway in case we just don't feel good with you anymore. But it's going to be interesting because I know Kirk Cousins feels like he deserves every dime of the money that he, planned on earning in Week 3. So it's going to be a tough negotiating battle.
Plan on earning in Week 3.
Well, I'm serious. I mean, that's the way. At Week 3 already, they had said this guy's already earned his money. Pay him, $50 million. He's a quarterback of the future for them. And then at the end of the season, the Redskins are like, okay, well, he did good, but not great. They didn't exactly win all their games based on the play of Kirk Cousins. So,
exactly.
that's a big selling point that you're now not having what you did in the first 5-6 games of the season.
Very true. Yeah, I mean, the Redskins really should have won that game. The Giants didn't have anything to play for. Yeah, they played their entire defense. Yeah, Eli Manning was out there until the end of the game. But although Beckham wasn't, they were thinking about taking Sterling Shepard out. They'd already removed another player. It just, man, it just doesn't bode well at all for the Redskins. But perhaps Kirk Cousins is one of those guys that walks. I think they're dumb if they don't pay him. Not like you're going to find a bunch of quarterbacks that are just better than him at this point.
Yeah. I think they'll pay him, but I think he's going to have to concede on the money that he wanted.
Right. Totally agree on that. He's going to have to concede a little bit on some of the money, probably. So what do you think about So the coaches so far that were Gary Kubiak retired due to his health issues and everything, which that's gonna be a blow for the Broncos because that team has really been built around his system and everything for so many years. So they're gonna have to make some sweeping changes here. But Chip Kelly fired, along with GM Trent Baalke and also Mike McCoy for the Chargers, because a lot of people think it's because of the belief of they're going to be moving, and you kind of want a new head coach for that.
I get
Possibly
that.
a guy that's used to moving, Jeff Fisher.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh no. Are you serious? That name came up. Um,
No, I know. I just thought I'd throw that in there, but they've talked. They want to talk to Josh McDaniels, and of course, I think everybody wants to talk to Kyle Shanahan at this point. So from the Falcons, so
mhm.
you know.
No, those are some big names, and it's interesting, especially firing. When you get your head coach fired, and then of course, you fire the GM too. It's a clean sweep. Trying to make a completely new psychological move here, especially with schemes and things like that. The GM and the head coach have to work so closely together. And we're seeing this with all these teams that they're really trying to find a way to get coaches inside their organization that fit the leadership or the owner, not leadership, excuse me, the owners. And that only makes sense. And so I think that's why you saw both, GMs and coaches fired in some of these scenarios. I'm really kind of curious. This is a whole coaching carousel right now. I mean, there's so many teams being affected by these coaching moves. So
Yeah, Jim Irsay came out and said that he's fed up with how the team performed this season. So Chuck Pagano could be gone. That's just another coach right there. So
yeah, I loved the press conference the owner of the 49ers had because of the fact that he was trying to explain Chip Kelly and all that stuff, and he was kind of being really truthful that they had failed, and they were actually asking him if he just should have been fired.
yeah. So he's like, "Well, you don't dismiss owners, so sorry to tell you."
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, why would you even throw that out there? This guy can't be fired. He owns his freaking team.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's just so like why. The Mike McCoy one's unfortunate, but he already kind of knew he was getting fired just from the way the team performed this year and everything. Just start fresh in a new place if that's where they go and go from there.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot of names being swirled around, but it seems like each team kind of has a certain pick that they kind of like. And so, I mean, I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunities given out this year, and I'm excited to see, who lands where and what happens with this whole process. And funny enough, I mean, I know there's going to be some names that aren't even mentioned out there that'll probably end up head coaches that are like, wow, how did that happen? So that's what's exciting.
Certainly, I mean. This coaching carousel thing is going to keep going, so we'll have to see. We already have Rex Ryan fired, Gary Kubiak stepping down, which,
What do you think about that one? I mean, that's
sad. I mean, he, Super Bowl winner. I think possible also. They told him that they were going to have to make some personnel changes, and Kubiak said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to change my offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or whatever. He wanted to keep everything the same, and they said no. So.
And I could definitely understand that. I think, that's probably part of it. I think the fact that he can't handle the stress of the job as much as he once did. I know health issues have been something that they've kind of flagged as being why. I think there's a multitude of things here. And, it's just a sad day because Gary Kubiak is such a good head coach. He's given the Broncos so much, and he's led them to a Super Bowl victory, and fell short this year. But I think a lot of that also, once again, kind of falls on his shoulders that he's not doing well physically, and maybe there are some behind the scenes bickering situations where he's just going to walk away while he's still doing okay.
Yeah, that's the most important part. You got to think about that life after football sometimes. Well, unless you have anything else, I think that's going to be it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about, our next show. I'm excited about kind of maybe picking these games. I think there's a lot of, early speculation of, how everybody kind of feels about what teams and what team is hot, what team's not, all that kind of stuff. So I'm
Right.
really looking forward to us getting into that and with Randy and just breaking all that down. And, I'll say this to kind of conclude because this is the last time we're probably going to, well, I know for a fact, last time we're talking about all 32 teams until we actually do get into the off season. This has been a fun year. There's been a lot of players break out that have, kind of surprised us. You got a Tyreek Hill and you've got guys like that who just kind of take the world by surprise. There's been guys that people predicted would be good like Derek Carr. Of course, you had the Cowboys have, Dak Prescott pop up out of nowhere. You've had, these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, 3 rookie quarterbacks come out, Jared Goff being one of those guys who just barely got a chance to play. Lots of great storylines this year. Lots of interesting things have kind of come into play. But one thing we can say from this past year is that we've learned that, the NFL as a whole has gotten young, and these teams are starting to evolve, and there's a shift here. Now, the Patriots are still on top. They've pretty much got what they got with Tom Brady and Belichick running everything. It's going to stay the same. But look at the way this whole thing has shifted. It's like a continental drift of, we've had some really bad teams be the better teams and the better teams be the bad. So this is what's kind of fun to watch and the way things are evolving. This has been a fun year, though. And so I'm excited about talking about the playoffs, and that's what we'll do next week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. This has been totally like rookies, especially rookie quarterbacks, most of them doing well, and then teams kind of making an about face and deciding to go young or whatever, and that's really cool. You'll have stars for the future for many years, and that's always and looks at the NFC East is just going to keep getting better with that. So that's another plus to take from it. So yes, that'll do it for us here. Subscribe to the W2M Network. Subscribe to Football to the Max. Go rate and review on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else you rate podcasts. Make sure you check out all the other stuff there, as well as the other podcasts, the wrestling podcast, all that. Just did a New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 11 preview that for the show that's on Wednesday morning, so it should be out there. And of course, visit W2Net.com where we have a more extensive Wrestle Kingdom preview up there, reviews, game reviews, and more things out there for you. So, well, until next week, everybody. See you later. Or well, until Friday. Sorry. Peace.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.